Throughout the years on my channel, it has been no secret that I love 60th era Doctor Who. To me, this was the peak of the show, as to me no other era got as experimental, bold or daring as these first 256 episodes, with stories such as the Daleks' Master Plan proving and showing how far the BBC were willing to push the show at the time, with the first companion deaths and some of the darkest moments and sequences ever shown on the programme. I have experienced roughly 45 out of the 50 stories at least twice at the time of writing this review, with only a small handful only being visited once by myself. One Christmas a few years ago, I ended up getting the War Machines on DVD, watched it once and didn't think much of it. Good idea and concept, particularly Wotan, but I thought it was a bit average and just stuck it on my shelf. 2018 recently saw a Big Finish release titled Torchwood 1 Machines, a 3-story box set sequel to the War Machines with Wotan returning. Being a fan of the villain, I was interested in seeing what could be done with this character and if they could be improved or done better. Recently I came back to the War Machines as I had picked up the set and wanted to lead myself into the set. As I mentioned before, I thought that this TV serial was a bit of an average effort. Good ideas to it, but kind of lost in execution. So coming back to it, I held a pretty flat expectation level, not thinking that I was going to get an amazing story. So how did it go down? Well, simply put, I was neither disappointed, neither surprised. In fact, it was about as good as I remembered, and I would keep the 5 rating I had before. With regards to preferences of my favourite era, I have always thought that the first Doctor's era was the best for characters, and that the second was the best for storylines. Occasionally you would get a good story from Hartnell, like An Unearthly Child or the Daleks' Master Plan, but for me his era started to dip in quality post the Dalek invasion of Earth. From the rescue up until the 10th planet, his era was kind of spotty for me, being quite mixed with bad stories, average stories and good or great stories. During this selection of 16 stories, there's a small bunch that I think are very good conceptually, but the execution of these ones leaves a bit to be desired. Most notable one I would say is The Webbed Planet, which is still a pretty good story at 7 out of 10 in my opinion. Out of these 16, I would say that The War Machines is among that bunch. I personally love the idea of Wotan. The production values are pretty great, with the machine itself being very well done, and I'll say that there are some very noteworthy moments of camera work in the story. One that stands out is a shot of a bicycle on the ground with the War Machine being reflected in a puddle as it goes by in episode 4. But to me, I don't think the story really got going until episode 3 personally. Episodes 1 and 2 felt a little slow and boring for me, with not much happening other than being build up to whenever the story finally goes into gear in the second half. I'm not saying a story that has a large amount of build up is bad. I mean, the Daleks' Master Plan had what I would say about 3 episodes, counting Mission to the Unknown, of build up, but the difference between that story and War Machines was that said build up wasn't of much interest in my opinion. In my view, there were a few scenes that I felt weren't very well done and a little awkward, in particular that one in episode 2 of the tramp being chased around the warehouse. And Dodo's departure as well could have been done much better, and let's not forget what I'm just going to call the hyperjump tower continuity mistake in episode 4. Overall, not a horrible Hartnell story, but not a great one either in my book. I can see how it was very much of a tease of what was to come. I mean, come on, episode 4 of the Web of Fears battle was near enough done in episode 3 here first, with it setting the ground for many Earthbound stories to come, looking at you Pertwee, but as a story I think it's just alright, and I'd personally give The War Machines a 5 out of 10.